All right, I think we're recording. Um, so first off, just in case people don't know you, can you give your name, your tag, anyone slash anything you'd like to shout out, like a sponsor or something, and how long you've been playing Melee?
So my name is Daniel. My tag is Zamu. Um, Shout outs to GHQ, Gamers HQ. That is my sponsor as of right now. And um, I've been playing Melee for like almost 7 years.
Holy cow.
And yeah. So often, like when I was first getting good, people like assumed that I had not been playing very long. Because I'm very young. I'm 19.
Yeah.
Um, And so people like were under the impression I'd been playing for like 2 or 3 years when I'd been playing for like five. But um, yeah, I've been playing Melee for a long time and it's just the sickest game. So I'll keep doing that.
Heck yeah, man. So what got you into it then?
So when I was younger, I played Pokemon trading card game competitively, went to tournaments all over. I've traveled for that almost as much as I've traveled for Melee. And so one time we started doing our like Pokemon weekly meeting sort of things at the U of I student union. And one night we were there and the Social Gamers Club, I think it's called, had a meeting. So like we like had a little corner that we just like met in. It was nothing like, it wasn't like we were reserved the space or anything, big basement down there. Um, but there was a wall that the Social Gamers Club had reserved. They had all sorts of games, a lot of Halo, bunch of stuff. They had a Brawl Minus set up. So I got into Melee through Brawl Minus. Um, Brawl Minus, so there's a mod for people don't like Brawl in general. I like Brawl, it's a pretty cool game,
Yeah.
but Brawl Plus was a mod to make it like more balanced and less bad. Brawl Minus did that same concept by making every character broken, like just broken. So very fun, pretty silly. But so then maybe once or twice, so that like made me aware of Brawl mods. So like foreshadowing PM. But so I went to a couple of meetings for that. I was very young, so I was with like a friend of mine that went to U of I at the time. And we went to some of their meetings, played some Brawl Minus on like a projector and stuff like that. It was very fun. And then like people would bring up PM because PM is like very widely known amongst like not competitive players at all. People know about PM, especially they used to, like before Smash 4 came out, anything like that. And so I eventually got PM set up on my Wii and everything, and I'd play it on my LCD TV, and um, and so I remember, I'll slight tangent, but I remember there used to not be a lot of like video guides for Melee or PM.
Yeah.
And so like I was reading like about advanced tech because I've always like I'm a competitive person. Everything I do, I'm like, okay, where are the tournaments at? Um and like without fail, it could be like the dumbest shit. Like um but so I remember reading a tutorial about wave dashing, and I was basically under the impression that a wave dash would be like you jump and then air dodge. Like the air dodge comes out, you just like air dodge sideways. But so pretty unrelated is eventually PM, go to PM tournament, and I'd like kind of played Melee a little bit at that point. Also, Melee was like one of the first video games I ever played when I was 3, 4 years old.
Yeah.
Um, but so then I went to some PM tournaments and like Melee tournaments at the same time. Um, but at the time, I was a PM player basically, even though really I was like not really a player of anything. I was just like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And so eventually I stopped playing PM and started playing Melee a lot. And then now I'm here. But
Sick.
so it all started from Pokemon and then Brawl Minus.
Yeah. No, I remember. I think it was like Ganon's punch in that mod did like 666 damage.
Yeah,
The sickest
yeah.
thing I've ever seen. Oh my god.
I remember I played Link in it, because I didn't know what I was doing, and people. So like, I'm just talking with these people at the club, and they're like, "Well, what do you want to do?" I was like, "I don't know, broken shit." And then they're like, "Well, do you want to like have projectiles?" And I was like, "I don't know, I guess." Link has like a bunch of like broken arrows, stuff like that. But yeah, fun game.
Heck yeah. No, that game's great. Did any person inspire you to get into Melee? Like any players or just like any friends that you had or anything like that?
So not really, but so in middle school I ran cross country, and a friend of mine who was a year above me, like also separately was kind of getting into Melee, and um we talked about, he also ran cross country, and we talked about Melee for maybe like a year before we ever actually like played together. And his tag is Juice, and his name's Andrew. And yeah, so we would play, and we went to tournaments together and stuff like that. But yeah, no like in particular player. um I didn't really watch a lot of Melee. um I never watched like streams of tournaments. I would watch a lot of like VODs after the fact, but I had probably been playing a year and a half before I watched a tournament live, and it was CEO 2015.
Yep, that's
And I
actually my first tournament that I watched too. No way.
great tournament. Yeah, so it was that friend Andrew's birthday, and yeah, and we were watching that. But yep, nothing, no, it was really nothing like about the Melee scene or tournaments in particular that got me into it. I just always liked Smash, played with friends, stuff like that, and
Sick.
always been a big fan of. I'm like the epitome of like the term tier whore. I just I I picked Fox because, so I didn't start with Fox, but I eventually decided on Fox because I never wanted to be able to blame my loss on the character. And I was like, well, Fox is the best character, so I want to lose because it's me, not the
Yeah.
characters. Because I
Yeah.
used to play like Luigi and Ganon when I
Oh
first
my
started.
gosh. What? I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
for a very small amount of time. But yeah.
That's dope. Um, so you talk about like relative skill in Melee on Twitter a lot, and I know that I was in your stream talking to you about it
Mhm.
with all the big brain individuals in there. It's a crazy time. So what do you think it takes these days to break into the top 100, and like how long would it take somebody who has like never really played Melee competitively before to do it?
Um, so I think the number one thing to become a top 100 level player is having a good punish game. Um, which is like, so a lot of people, a term I really don't like is when people say something like I'm a neutral based player.
Yeah.
Because like you can have an amazing neutral, but it doesn't matter if you're not converting off of your hits as hard as you can. And so like when I first got ranked top 100, I think my neutral was quite bad. My understanding of Melee was pretty bad, but I had the punish game to back it up. So like punish game will get you wins, because if your opponent is playing even a little bad and you're just hitting hard, then you'll win. And I think so like for a new player to get to top 100, it depends on a lot of factors, but like how much you're going to practice, how well you can practice, what resources you have, like where you're at. Net play now is like a big game changer for that.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
yeah, but I think realistically 2 years is probably a reasonable minimum. I think people could do it in a year and a half, something like that. But reasonably, 2 years of very hard grinding, you could definitely get there. But there's a lot of players now that are grinding more than ever. So it gets harder.
Yeah. I get that. Um, So on a similar note, do you think the Dunning-Kruger effect is a really widespread thing in Melee? And then also, have you seen the graph that LSD posted, that joke one?
Yeah,
I think that is so freaking funny.
it is funny.
Yeah. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
So I'm not 100% certain about the Dunning-Kruger effect, but it's basically like dumb people think they're smart.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, within Melee, there's definitely, when you first start, it's like, wow, this game is just crazy. There's so much to it. I'm awful and I do not like know how to get better. It's just so hard. Um, and then like as you learn and stuff, it's like, oh, this is kind of doable. I understand more, and things like that. But eventually you reach a point where you're like, this is harder than I thought ever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's, I don't know how to put it, but basically at a point you realize that no one is that good, which is scary because people that have been playing for 15 years, stuff like that, obviously they are good. They're really good. But when you're talking about like what Melee can be, there's still like you'll watch their VODs, there's execution errors, there are like decision making errors, and it's just like no one is close to perfect.
Yeah.
And the just like, so I think like people, I think comparing yourself to the field in Melee is not that good of a way to go about it, because like the skill in Melee is like very exponential. Like the difference between, I've said this, but like the difference between my skill and Armada's skill is pretty similar to what I think like the difference between my skill today and my skill the day I started playing Melee is.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I what was the question? It was Dunning-Kruger in Melee,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, I think that like as you get better, you do realize like that there is so much more to get better at.
Yeah, for sure. I think for a lot of people, like after they start winning sets, it's kind of a wake up call to be like, to break into the next level, you have to do so much more than you're already
Mm-hmm.
doing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a friend who took lessons from Drug Fox,
Mm-hmm.
um, and Drug Fox asked him like, how often do you solo practice per day? And he was like, I do like half an hour of technical practice. And Drug Fox was like, when I was top 100 and I played every day, I played for 8 hours a day. My friend was
Mm-hmm.
just like, holy cow, like I'm never gonna get there, man. Um,
Yeah.
and that just kind of put it into perspective for me for like how much you have to do in order to like break into the next level of player.
Yeah. And so like there are, this is kind of what I was saying about, there are levels within top 100. There are levels. When Drug Fox was like a top 10 player, like yeah, that's what you have to do. But plenty of people that are ranked top 100 do not put in that work, do not practice like that, including myself. I talk about this a lot, that like I don't practice enough to like, I don't practice enough to like have like a reasonable expectation to see drastic improvement, or like even just like very much tangible improvement in general,
Yeah.
because you just need to put in so much work, and it's hard. And I think that there are a lot of players like that like I put in a lot of hours through the years, but it's not something I'm doing consistently right now, and I can't expect to like, if I just keep doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to become top 10 in the world. In fact, I will just continue to be surpassed by people that are working.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. Um, so now for something entirely different, we're gonna talk about your tweets.
Okay.
Not my tweets. We already talked about my tweets. We know my tweets are bangers. Um, So I've talked with you in the replies before about some of your like political ideas, and now you don't
Hmm.
have to get into that, but
Oh, I
do you?
gladly will.
So do you ever get worried that people are sort of turned away by that, and that you should feel obligated to talk about Melee on social media, or do you just not care about that?
Um, I think that I would be lying if I said I didn't care and think about that. But um, overall, it's like, yes, I'm a Melee player. And yes, that's what a lot of people know me as, but I'm also myself. And like, it's not like I made that Twitter to be like my Melee Twitter. Originally, that was just like my personal Twitter, which I never used. And I deleted all the tweets. There were not very many. I was very young when I made it. The account got locked, and I was so grateful to be able to get it back. Because I made it when I was like 12.
Yeah,
I was so happy. I was terrified. I was very scared. But like, I do think, I don't know, it's like I think that people, it's not like it's not clear what you're going to get from my Twitter. I think that if you like follow me for a little bit, then you can make an educated decision to unfollow.
yeah, that's a fair answer. I like that answer. Um, Anywho, I'm not gonna get into that. We can say that for a different interview. We'll have a sequel or something, or
Mhm.
I'll just message you and we can talk smack. Um, so, has there been anything that has kept you from playing at an even higher level than what you are now, like hand pain, financial issues, like family problems, just like anything? Like for me recently, it was that I literally couldn't fit a CRT in my dorm room, so I
Mhm.
couldn't practice for like 6 months.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm super grateful to my family, and I've really been in perfect positions to continue my growth in Melee. Um, it's like, I wouldn't say that it's that there are like personal problems kind of, but they don't necessarily have to prevent me from improving at Melee. But I definitely have a lack of motivation and drive to, I think so. There's definitely a part of it that is, I know what I need to do. I think I'm confident that if I did what I needed to do, I would continue getting better. Top 30, top 20. I think I could become top 10 in a couple of years, but it's a lot of work, and I just am not currently doing it. It's not like I don't know. I'm in a place where I could be I could be improving at Melee, and I could be practicing and doing what I need to do to get better. I just am not, and it's hard.
Yeah. No, I get that. I think it's totally understandable to not want to practice, especially like right now when you know that there probably won't be any in-person tournaments for like however many months,
Yeah.
or God forbid even longer. I think the
Hmm.
only person that is really grinding every single day is Russell because that guy's a sociopath.
I love Russell.
I love him too. We're gonna talk about him in a minute here. Give me like one and a half more questions,
So,
and then I'll be able to tell you all about
yeah,
that
I
guy.
will also say though, like, even before, I've been like on a not downward trend, because I've still been like getting good at Melee at a much slower rate than I could be. But like tail end 2018 probably. And even that, I feel like I've never practiced as much as I should have. And I I've never felt like I'm doing what I need to do to get good. I've never felt that way. And I think part of it is like it's like I don't know what like the term for it is. I know there are terms for it. Is just like not feeling like I'm doing enough no matter what I'm doing. And I think even if I was like, I could be practicing 8 hours a day, and as long as I have the idea that I could be doing that, until I'm doing that, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. Even when I was practicing like every single day, like meaningfully, if it was like an hour, I was like, oh, I should be practicing for 2 hours, or like, oh, I should be practicing for 2 hours and then studying VODs on top of that, or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And then even when I was like winning sets, I was like, I'm not winning. These people just don't know how to deal with like a stupid guy that doesn't know how to play the game and just waggles the C stick around.
Yeah, it's hard
Um,
to, there's definitely like it's an unhealthy mentality,
yeah.
and there's definitely a healthy middle ground. I sure have not found it, but
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's no, like, if you practice an hour a day and you know you could be doing more, you should still be very happy and proud of yourself for doing a consistent hour every day. And that doesn't mean that you can't be critical and know you could be doing more. And I think I'll bring politics in real quick, because I think like you can be happy that Joe Biden beat Trump and still be critical of the fact that like it's not that meaningful.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think that people are like, oh my God, everything's gonna change. It's
Yep.
so great. When it's like, probably not.
No, absolutely not.
Hopefully, you can
Yeah.
hope, you can
Yeah.
hope, but don't tell people not to be critical because one good thing happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. So, in sort of a similar vein, what's your practice schedule look like right now, generally speaking?
Um, Zero practice at all.
None?
Um, yeah, I play quite a decent amount of net play versus people. Solo practice, I've probably solo practiced 30 minutes in 2021. Um, did some ledge dashes. Um, I think that I do improve just from net playing people. I try and fail mostly, but I try to like have some focused ideas of what I want to be thinking about and stuff while I'm net playing people. But often it's just like mindless playing people, which I do still improve from. It's not like I'm not improving from it, but it is way less than I'd be improving if I was solo practicing even a couple times a week, doing analysis even a couple times a month, and having like concrete written down what I'm going to try in friendly sessions. Because I think that is probably, if you're not going to do anything else, having concrete plans of what you want to work on in friendly sessions is probably like the single most important thing that I've done to improve.
Yep.
And it's also important, it's important to have them be simple little things and not a lot of them. It's
Hmm.
not good to be like, okay, in this friendly session, I'm going to work on playing smart and neutral, and I'm going to extend my punishes a lot. That's too vague.
Yep.
You need to be like, okay, every time I up smash my Fox opponent, I'm going to try and tech chase with a grab, something like that. Or every time I'm in a situation where I think an Armada Shine could be good, even if I'm not confident in my ability to hit it, if it's a possible Armada Shine, I'm going to try it every time. And
Hmm.
things like that, even if you're not solo practicing them, it's still like if you're focused on doing it, you will get better at it. And I think that like having those little things to focus on is super important. And it's also very, very important to not care about winning the friendly. That is a big part of why like people won't go for the Armada Shine when it's a possible thing, because they're like, well, I'm not great at Armada Shines. I'm going to miss it and die. Missing it and dying is infinitely better than not trying to go for it.
Yep. Yeah. Uh, you know who else told me exactly that in reference to getting better? Russell, of
Russell,
course. Yeah.
yep.
Um, yeah. No, I that was also one of the big things in me getting better. And I still suck in the grand scheme of things. but like just picking one really small thing, like I'm not gonna forward smash in this situation because I think it's bad, or like
Yeah.
because I get punished for it all the time, and just like trying to be conscious of that one thing.
Yeah.
And then when you get better at that one thing, move on to the next small tangible thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
A
that's what's
big thing
important.
is it's like they need to be tangible things. If you're gonna say something like, okay, I'm gonna focus on neutral, that's not tangible.
Yeah.
If you're gonna say something like, I'm gonna focus on like doing a wave dash down right outside of their threat range and then reacting to what they do.
Yeah.
That is a great example of like something to try and focus on implementing. And it's important, like you don't need to be doing like your tournament game plan in your friendlies. You need to just be learning.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Totally agree. Uh, So a little bit different of a note. So I don't know if you remember this, but I like met you briefly at Invincible 5, where I watched you play 100 grand in
Oh,
winners finals and grand finals. And so I wanted to ask, why do you hate Marth so much?
um, I actually at this point I really do not hate Marth at all, and it's one of my favorite matchups to play, and I think I'm actually pretty good at it. Um, I, I hate Donkey Kong,
You hate Donkey Kong.
but
Okay.
so there is a part. It's like fighting Marth in tournament is very very different than like me playing friendly sessions versus Marths. Um, it Marth really punishes you for making mistakes, and the kinds of people that make a lot of mistakes are ones that don't practice and try to do a difficult execution anyways, and that is like it just is not going to work, and then I do it anyways, and then I'm like, why isn't this working?
Yeah,
And then I get mad.
that's fair.
But I think like my mentality about Marth, my actual ideas in the matchup have all gotten a lot better,
Mhm.
and it's and I think a lot of people do this. They will blame things on the opponent that have nothing to do with the opponent. It is completely your fault, and like it is like if I accidentally spot dodge or something and then get punished and die, my response shouldn't be fuck Marth. It
Yeah.
should be maybe I should practice and not mess up.
Hmm. I get that.
I'm
So
a
would you be
reformed
mad?
Marth complainer.
Yeah. Would you be mad if I told you I was a Marth man?
No, I knew
Okay,
this.
cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I'm truly a Mario man, but that's not true. No, I'm just kidding.
I
Um,
mean, Marth's really good. I think that good character, fun to play against.
there you go. That's good. It's good to hear that you've sort of come around on that, I guess. Then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so back when in person tournaments still existed, you famously won Awakening 5 when you were like a toddler.
My claim to
So
fame.
your claim to fame, of course. So can you walk me through that a little bit and just kind of like what that experience was like?
So going to Europe was definitely the best experience of my life, melee or not melee related. Um, so at Awakening 5, so many people came up to me at that tournament and asked if I could win, if I thought I was going to win or thought I could win the event. Every single person, I told them, no, I think I can get second. I can't beat Triff. Every single person. That was my response every single time. I think I can get second. I think I'm going to try and get second, but I can't beat Triff. Um, so I was at FET 2 or 3 weeks before that, which was another European major
Yeah.
in the
So you're there for
UK.
a while then, right?
Yeah, I was there for 3-ish weeks or so. And at that tournament, I lost to Triff in losers. It was not a very close set, but so I got Drug Fox lessons for quite a while. Um, and I not I guess I've stopped pretty not recently, just because I didn't have the motivation to like even while getting Drug Fox lessons, knowing what to practice, being told what to practice, never practiced. And it's like, while I was benefiting immensely from getting lessons from him, and even just because it forced me to every week, or eventually switch to monthly, but for a while I was getting them weekly. It forced me to have an hour of the week where I was critically thinking about Melee, watching a VOD, and having a genius talk to me about it.
Yeah.
And so even without doing anything to improve other than that, when there were so many things I could have done, it still was such a help. And I think part of the reason why I stopped was because I felt like someone that would be practicing deserved it a lot more than me. But so after FET, I had a lesson a week later while I was in Germany. We talked about Fox Beach. We watched my VOD with Triff. And even so, I was not confident in beating him. And so then come Awakening, telling everyone can't beat Triff. The whole time, the whole at least like second day of the event, where like it was final bracket, I was warming up with Fout NL. He's a Peach main from the Netherlands. The whole time, anytime I was not playing bracket, I was like, yo, you want to play? And doing that, every time I've done something like that for a matchup, really warmed up and just played the matchup, I always have performed so much better. And so because of that, I almost lost to Fat Man Spam, an Ices player, because I was kind of overconfident, and also I was like, okay, I just need to be practicing against Peach all day. And then I played pretty well, and Triff played pretty not well, and so I won the event, and it was crazy.
Heck yeah. Oh, side note on that so if you look up that tournament, it's listed as a regional, and I think that's a little bit unfair because like everybody below you in like the whole like top 16 essentially was like a top 100 level player, and I was like, that
Yeah,
seems
I
a
mean,
bit off.
it is considered like, to Europeans, that is a European major.
Yeah.
But it's just like Europe is at such a disadvantage compared to North America for Melee. It's just like not even comparable, unfortunately. There are plenty of great players there, but damn, they do not have the resources that people in the US have, especially if, like, before rollback, before like all of the resources that now are available for online stuff. But even so, it's not like they can really play with US people still. I've played with some Europeans on like 3 frames, and it's not bad, but it's just a whole different field over there.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Um, so do you have any personal goals once in-person tournaments start back up, whenever that may be?
Um, no, but I think so. As 2021 was coming around, I really wanted to start practicing again and really try to improve and compete in online tournaments, which I don't like doing, because I do really like competing in tournaments.
Yeah.
And it's just like a hard environment for me to compete in. There are so many things out of your control, but I still want to compete in online events. And the intention was so that I will be good once real events come back around, but I don't have any concrete goals for them. I really look forward to it, and hopefully I'm able to find some motivation to try and actively improve at Melee, rather than what I'm doing right now, which is very passively still improving. I think that I've gotten a lot better in quarantine. Like IBDW has said, like, wow, you've gotten a lot better in quarantine. but it's not because I was practicing hard or anything like that. It's just I've been playing and thinking and having some ideas and just like doing them, even though it's just not nowhere near what I need to do if I want to actually be like a top threat. And like I've never been consistent, and I've never done what I need to do to be consistent. And I think that I have kind of like reconciled the fact that I don't deserve to be a consistent player. I do. I for based on what I do, based on my like
sure.
if I like I definitely know what I could do, and I think I could be very consistent. I think I could not lose to random players, but
Mhm.
no offense to any random players that have beaten me, but have you beaten me?
No, it was just
Okay,
joshing.
there's so many people that have beaten me. Like you could have told me that you've taken a set off me, and I would believe you, 100%.
Yeah.
And like I've come to terms with that. If I'm not doing what I need to do to improve, then people are going to beat me. And I know that even in that case, I still have the ability to play really well and win Awakening 5 and do things like that. And so I know that I'm a good player, even though I'm really bad, just like everyone else. But I know I'm really good, and I know that I have a lot more potential than I show. But it's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. Melee is hard. That's a really hot take for the day.
Yep,
Yeah,
melee is hard.
melee is difficult. So I should have asked this earlier when we were sort of doing like intros, but what do you do outside of melee? Like, what are the games do you play? I honestly don't even know. Do you like go to school? Do you have a job? I have no idea.
So outside of melee, I've recently got back into Pokemon trading card game online a little bit. I haven't been playing much yet, but I'm interested in competing in it again. Um, Kind of a shitty game, to be honest, but it's also super sick. So
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of card games. I'm so I was kind of getting into poker, and I've stopped, but I'm still planning on working really hard at poker. Um, we'll see if that happens. I've planned on working really hard at melee plenty of times, and that's not happened.
Mhm.
So I play some other games, but it's usually I'll have like I play melee, and then I'll have one other game that I'm playing for a bit. I played Slay the Spire a lot recently.
Ooh, yeah.
Very cool game.
Yeah.
I was doing it on my phone, so I finally beat Ascension 20 as the Silent, which was really hard and took a lot of hours. Um, I'm not going to school right now. I'm I don't know what I'm doing. I really have no clue what I'm doing with my life. So we'll see what happens. But my mom worked at a community college locally for 20 years or so, and she's retired a year and a half ago now, I think. So I have the ability to take classes there for free until I'm 26. So I can't not do that. I
Yeah.
can't not do that.
Of
It
course.
just so I've taken last summer I took Calc 2 at one class, and then right now I'm signed up for Intro to Philosophy, and that started on Monday. I think I'm going to stream some of that, just
Yeah.
writing. Um, and I'm working for a company called Computer Nerds. It's Nerds with a Z, and it's a computer repair company based out of San Antonio, Texas, and they have a store in Austin as well. Um, and like I'm doing that part time. Um, just like work on the phones, basically warning people about scams because there's a lot of scams going around, and we have a lot of older clients,
Yeah.
which are the target audience for these scams, and it's messed up. So that's
Mhm.
basically what I'm doing, and then working on some other stuff for that company. But yeah, really, I don't know what I'm doing. there's a pandemic, so I have an excuse to not know what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
I think I would be in a similar spot even if the world never had this happen.
Yeah, I get that. Um, yeah, I actually also picked up poker and tried to get good at it over the past couple years. So
That's it.
if you ever wanna lose money to each other, let me know. We can just keep trading dollar bills back and forth.
Oh, maybe down at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah. So do you ever feel limited by your region or like if you'd be improving faster at Melee if you lived on either of the coasts? And I'm definitely not asking because I'm also in a Midwestern state.
Absolutely not, actually. I think that Champagne and Chabot in particular, I think that there is nowhere else in the world that I could have been to improve better. Um, the scene here has always been so supportive, and Chabot has just like always been someone there for me to talk to about Melee and play Melee with. And he's a very smart player, very good player. Um, and so like there's a lot of very good players that aren't necessarily that like smart about like their articulation of thoughts in Melee. Chabot is not like that. He is very good at articulating his thoughts and just not only a great resource to play with, but just a great resource to talk about little minutia of the game with. And so I don't think, I'm sure there are other people like that around in various scenes, but I am not confident that if I was anywhere other than Champagne, I would have gotten as good as I've gotten.
That's dope. I
Mm-hmm.
love that for you.
Me too.
We could all have a Shabo in our life, I suppose.
I wish that Melee would be so sick
Yeah.
if everyone was just Chabot.
um, so why do you think people don't want to be good at Melee, or rather, why do the people who say they want to be good end up not putting in the effort?
It's really fucking hard. Like
Yeah.
that's like basically all there is to it. It's like so I'm someone that has gotten relatively good, but as I said, the difference between me and Armada is insane. It's like I do think that you get to a point where you at least are aware of what you need to do, because I think most people, like vast majority of the Melee scene, are not even aware of like what it takes and what they need to do to continue improving and improve at fast rates. But it's just like everyone wants to be the next Mango, right? Everyone wants to be super sick, super good at Melee, but people don't recognize just how hard that is and just how much effort that takes. It's like if you are doing other things in your life, if you're going to school full time, if you're working full time, it's possible, absolutely possible to become a great player, probably possible to become a top 10 player, but damn, does that make it hard. And it's hard to have, you need to have the motivation for half a decade. You need to, if not more. And it's like, I think it's not, I don't think this is at all specific to Melee either. Like people want to be successful, like in whatever business they want to do, in whatever industry they want to go into, like whatever career. And people have dreams, and sometimes those dreams are attainable, um, and sometimes they're attainable with a lot of hard work and a lot of luck. And I think there are a couple issues there that like people don't recognize that there's luck involved. Um, Kind of less so for Melee, but like your situation in life, where you're at geographically, just all of that. I mean, that's, you can say that it's not luck in a way, but in a way it's also luck. And So it's not just the drive and wanting it, it's doing it and being in a position to do it. And like it's for everything. Like I'm certain for other games like League of Legends, people are the same way. Like, and just like in the world, people want to either start their $1 million business or go into whatever career, and it's hard. It's just really hard, and sometimes not possible, and sometimes maybe possible. And things that are maybe possible are a lot harder to get yourself to do, I think, with such as like getting better at melee, becoming the best player in the world. While yes, it's possible, right? It's possible, people do it. That doesn't mean it's actually really possible for you. And it's just hard to balance everything. It's just really hard.
Yeah, yeah. Melee's hard. That's the theme of this interview. Um, okay, so I have one more question. Well, really, I have two because I have one thing I have to ask before I get to the final question. What flavor is the LaCroix right next to you?
Raz cranberry.
That's a good call. Oh my gosh, a man of culture. I see. I
There
don't
are a
have
lot
any.
of cans.
I don't have any in here, but I'm glad you also enjoy. Yes, yeah. I get bullied at college because people are like, "Oh, it tastes like pee or whatever. Like sparkling water is so gross," and I'm like, "You have no idea. You have no
LaCroix
clue what
is
you're
a
saying."
is a controversial topic.
It's so great. I have to cut myself off at certain points because I'm like I could drink 4 a day. It's
Only 4?
only 4. Yeah. And on
Four
top
is
of
like
that,
a low estimate for my daily consumption of LaCroix,
yeah.
I'd say.
Well, you know who got me into LaCroix?
Russell is my guess. Just
Yes.
based on the yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Whew, it's funny. Okay, so finally, you can answer this with an I don't know, totally understandable, or answer it for
I'll make
20
something
minutes,
up.
doesn't matter. So what are your long-term career goals with Melee?
I will start with I don't know, but I will go on for a while about some ideas because I think about this a lot. I have dedicated my life for nearly half of it to Melee, so and I don't really see myself stopping anytime soon.
Heck yeah.
I mean, realistically, Melee is not very lucrative, especially as a competitor. Um, I've been streaming pretty consistently, but guess what? Streaming's also really hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I'll briefly touch on this because it's something that makes me so annoyed. Is you remember Leffen, minimum wage job streaming comparison?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So what Leffen said, I will try and make it more clear than he did because clearly he did not make it very clear.
Yeah.
He said that if given the options of working a minimum wage job, flipping burgers, whatever, for 40 hours a week, regular hours, full time, for $30,000 a month, or the option of streaming Smash Ultimate, a game he doesn't like, for 60 to 80 hours a week, at times specifically catered to American audiences. That means he is doing this at like 3 a.m. for at awful hours. If given those options for also $30,000 a month, he would rather flip burgers. And I think that like, yeah, if you have to work less, either way, he's doing something he doesn't enjoy. One ruins his sleep schedule, makes his like social life worse, right? It's like streaming is really difficult, and I think people like to be like, well, you're just playing games in front of an audience. People like to discount the difficulty of content creation and stuff like that because yes, you're able to be successful doing something you're passionate about, which most people in the world just don't get to do. And that's unfortunate, but that is the reality of it. Most people do not get to make a living doing something that they love. And just because it's something you love doesn't mean it's not hard. And so I find streaming very, very difficult, very exhausting. Um, but it's something I want to continue to pursue because I think I have a lot to offer and I have a lot of ideas of how to improve my stream and how to, I think that I could become a relatively successful streamer. To stream full time and to like cover your bills and stuff is insanely difficult, takes a lot of luck and a lot of hard work. And people, I think it's partially because the people that aren't getting to do something that they love, um, there's like some spite to it, maybe. I don't know if spite's the right word, but it's like you're getting to do something you love while I'm having to do this shitty job just to barely make it by. Stop complaining.
Yep.
And like, yeah, there's like, it's not like that's an unfair position to have fully, but there is like a lack of compassion for the difficulty of everything. Everything is really hard. Like nothing seems easy. Well, a lot of things seem easy. Nothing is easy in my experience. And so for my future in Melee, I don't see, so for me, streaming is also not a direct Melee thing. I think that I cannot sustain myself, like I can't streaming Melee. I think I'm bad at it, and it's very just exhausting. It's so hard. It's not a good game to stream, honestly. Um, it's hard. It's hard to like interact with chat while playing Melee.
Yep.
And it's hard to get good practice while streaming. So my ideal situation would be something along the lines of full-time streamer and competitor, which would mean I'm not just streaming Melee and I'm not only playing Melee on stream. I want to be, I want to practice off stream. I want to have focused practice where my goal is improve at Melee so I can be the best Melee player I am. And then also put in the hours not streaming to improve my stream. I have a lot of ideas and they're hard to execute. It's just not easy. And I struggle with depression and ADHD, which is like people have their preconceived notions of what either of those things are like. And you can try to tell people as much as you want, and people either understand or they don't. And it's really hard to not understand. It's really hard to understand if it's not something you are experiencing yourself.
Yep.
And that's just how it is, and that makes sense. And it's just really hard. It's really hard for me to do the things I want to do. And it sucks because I know I want to do them. It's not, it's not like I'm like, maybe I want to practice Melee. It's like, damn, I know I want to practice Melee. I know I want to get good at Melee. I know I want to do analysis. And I just don't. And I don't like phrasing it in ways like I just can't. But oftentimes it really is like I just can't do it. And that it makes hard things even harder. And so basically what I'm doing right now, this will become a 20-minute answer, you're right. Basically what I'm doing right now is trying to do what I can get myself to do. And for me currently, since I was in South Carolina for a while, visiting my girlfriend's family for the holidays, and then we got COVID, so we were stuck there even longer. But I got back January 15th or 16th. I think I didn't stream like the first 2 days I got back, but since then I've streamed every day except for 2 days ago. And even some of them have been an hour long, maybe 45 minutes. but I'm just going to try and keep streaming every day for a little bit because that's something that I think I can do. And for me right now, it's more important to do what I can. And I'm still going to try and come up with ideas that I hopefully at some point will be able to do to improve at Melee and improve at streaming, even if I'm not able to do them right now, because having the ideas is having the ideas, if you can't, even if you can't do them right now, is way better than just like not having the ideas at all. And so my ideal situation would be working on my stream, working on Melee. There's a lot of things you can do on stream to improve at Melee. Doing analysis, there's no reason I couldn't stream it. I don't need to look at chat. I can do the same analysis that I would do not on stream and just have it streamed. That's hours streamed, and it's stuff that I think is beneficial to Melee players.
Yeah.
I'm starting to, I'm doing coaching through Cohen's Academy, where he is I believe the founder of the Air series and has done a lot for the European Melee community. And recently he started a thing called Cohen's Academy, where he's basically doing the administration and administrative side of things for a coaching program with a bunch of coaches, a bunch of European coaches. And he said that he's gotten like some North American students that are very interested, but it's hard to like set up times for a North American student to work with a European coach. And so myself, RyoBeat, and LSD have been added as coaches.
Yeah.
And so that's something I've done some coaching in the past a little bit. And so that's like another thing that is, I'm confident that not only will me doing that help other people get better at Melee, but it'll help myself get better at Melee as well. And I'm a lot better at being able to do things if it is to help someone else rather than for myself. And so putting myself in situations where that sort of idea is present, I think is good for me so that I'm able to spend more time focused thinking about Melee, even if it's not in a form that's like, okay, this is what I need to do to get as good as I can, as efficiently as I can.
Yep.
And so hopefully someday I get better at Melee, and I want to get better at Melee. That is not something I see changing. And hopefully once real life tournaments are back, I plan on traveling all over still. I love going to tournaments, and I will hopefully continue doing that.
For sure. Yeah, the only thing I have to say to that is that stop being so hard on yourself because your streams are sick. Can say as resident expert here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see you improve. I'm excited to be able to go back and see people in tournaments or be able to see people in general.
Me too.
Whenever that comes about. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording, but you can stay in the call here for a sec so that I can make sure everything is correct, or else we can just redo this whole hour.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll give different answers.
Of course.